This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, we are recording. Tim, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad at all. So it's quite an early one for me. This is probably the earliest I've recorded a podcast in the UK. What time is it? I presume you're down under, right? You're in Australia right now.
Yeah, I'm in Brisbane, so it's 7 p.m. here.
Nice, nice. So tell me a little bit about, before we get into the song picks, I'm always curious about how people, creatives essentially, found the sort of the lockdown period. And my brother lives in Brisbane, funnily enough, and from our communication with him, the lockdown situation in Australia was far stricter than what we'd experienced in the UK. And I just wonder how you found that, both sort of personally, but how did you find it creatively?
I was pretty fortunate with the timing of the lockdowns that I managed to do a couple of interstate trips. And I just managed to dodge the little COVID outbreaks. And then I just got home in time again before I got locked out of the state or whatever. So I did manage to kind of get around and work with some new producers and stuff, and work on some music that I really loved, which was great. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was challenging and pretty weird. I think that I get my sense of being an artist largely from playing live and being able to connect with the fans in that way.
Yeah.
And so I think to have that suddenly just taken away completely, I did start to I think have a bit more self-doubt and kind of question things that I hadn't really experienced before that.
What, like things like how much you define yourself on that interaction and them live shows and things, like how much that means to you?
Yeah, and I think how much it connects with people and stuff. I think I just felt a bit disconnected from people in general, and yeah, disconnected from a part of myself that I think I had come to really draw a lot of my identity from.
Sure. Okay, well, let's talk records. Let's go on to something way more positive. Tim, tell me the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
I reckon that it could be "Run Away with Me" by Carly Rae Jepsen.
It could be, or is it?
Well, I actually struggled to get it down to one song, but this is the one that I've decided to go with.
Wonderful.
And yeah, it's just got that iconic sax line that opens it up, and it's just straight away it's euphoric and emotive and uplifting. I don't know, I feel like it's one of those songs that pulls you into the feeling immediately.
So I'm always interested to when I speak to songwriters, and you've chose Carly Rae Jepsen, which is obviously, very, very slick, well put together, infectious pop music. And I'm always interested to ask this question, because when you're making music, how much consideration do you put into the audience success in your music via the more common means now, which will be things like TikTok and getting on Spotify playlists and kind of trying to work towards the sort of the tightening of attention spans of young people? Do any of them things filter through into your creative process, or are you more like, no, the song's a song and it will take its own form, but do you take considerations to look, if we can hook them in this opening intro, we'll get on this Spotify place, we'll get more attention from this, do you know what I'm saying with the question? Are these sort of considerations?
I feel like I've never really considered that across the 4 albums that we've put out, and especially on our 4th album. I was no, this is purely about the artistry. I was it'll cut through to the people it's meant to or whatever. But I do think that with the music that I've been working on more recently, not that I've got like playlists and TikTok and that sort of thing in mind, but I think that like the longer I am like writing music and I guess I'm like the longer that I'm in the industry and we're self-managed and completely independent and everything. So I feel like with each release, we've learned more about like how labels think and how managers think and that sort of thing. So I think for this next lot of music that I've been working on, I have I have taken a bit more time to get it in a place that I think like still feels pure artistically, but is hopefully sitting in somewhat more of an accessible
Yeah.
place than what we did previously.
That's the happy.
But I
That's the
think
sweet spot, isn't it? If you can get that
yeah,
balance right, that's the moment, right?
yeah, and it's like much harder to achieve than I think I thought it would be when I was like when I had this like vision for what would come next in the Cub Sport journey. But I do think that with a lot of time and care, I have been getting there.
Wonderful. Tell me about the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please, Tim.
So that one would be The Special Two by Missy Higgins. And I think I would have been 12 when I first heard it. My brother was really into her, and she had like quite a fast blow up here in Australia. And suddenly she was like number one, and she was just like everywhere. And it was music that I'd never really encountered anywhere before, especially that had been like so successful, where a lot of it was just like piano and vocals, and it had a very like live, stripped back feel to it. And she sang in like a super strong Australian accent. It just like really cut through because there was nothing else like it at the time. And this particular song, the lyrics are just like so like sad and yearning, and it's like a piano ballad. And um yeah, I remember like lying in bed. I had the CD on my like stereo system in my room, and just like lying in bed and listening to that song and like crying. And I was like 12, and now I'm like, whoa, like that's like a pretty deep experience to have with music at that age. But I'm sure that like I'm sure young people still are doing that. But I think once you like grow older, it's easy to forget like how real life experiences are at those young ages.
I think.
Um,
Go on. Sorry.
oh yeah, I think I was actually pretty much finished. I don't, yeah.
Because I think I think up until a certain point, like music is just it's just sort of there as a kid, isn't it? And then I think that what you just described there, when all of a sudden you hear something and it gets you on a different level. It's like, oh, hang on, there's layers to this. All of a sudden, I'm feeling something else now from this, and it's pulling me in, and I'm engaging, and you know, and there's nothing more beautiful than hearing somebody singing in an accent that is you. And you know, when I hear sort of like a London accent, I'm just like they're singing like me. You know, that's my hometown. That's my that's the voice that I hear on the streets, and you can connect with that straight away. Um, so it was Brisbane where you grew up.
Yeah, yeah. My family moved here when I was like 6 weeks old. I was born in New Zealand, and then we moved to Brisbane, and I've been living here ever since.
Happy place to grow up.
Yeah, it's like it, people describe it as like a big country town. I feel like I don't have anything to compare it to, so I don't even really know what that means. But I think it's like that it has like really beautiful weather, and overall compared to like Sydney or Melbourne, it's like got a pretty relaxed feel to it, which I guess is what people refer to with like the country town thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do really love it here, and I think that I'll probably like because it's where most of my family are. I feel like I'll probably like end up here when I'm older. I like plan to like leave for a bit in between.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me the song that reminds you of your time at school, please.
So this one was like pretty tricky to narrow down to one song because I listened to so much different music through school. But I think Britney Spears was like one artist that kind of remained as like an obsession through all of school for me. And if I were to choose one song, I'd say Every Time by Britney Spears.
Yeah, I mean that's pure perfect pop, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I remember like learning to play the harp part on piano and just, yeah, I feel like that song again, like when it came out, there was nothing else that sounded like that was like cutting through the way that did. Like
Yeah,
it's like such a like stripped, beautiful like ballad song, but it was performing like like a massive like pop banger or something in
yeah.
like the charts and everything. So yeah, that song will always be a special one to me.
How was school, Tim? Was that something you enjoyed?
Um, there were parts of school that I really loved. Um, I had a really good music teacher and a lot of really musical friends. And actually, Sam, who's in the band and is also my husband, we met at school and we were in like all the school choirs and everything together. So we've like been singing together since we were like 14 or something. Um, so those parts of it are, yeah, like very happy to look back on. But there are a lot of parts of it that were terrible as well. It was like a Pentecostal Christian school, and like very homophobic and conservative, which made growing up in that world like very confusing.
Yeah.
But
Did you
yeah.
know? Did you know what you wanted to be when you was at school?
Yeah, I always said that I wanted to be a recording artist. So it's pretty cool that it happened.
Did it? Did it always like? Did it feel possible? Like, was there people and artists, that had success in the location that you grew up in that made you think, oh, do you know what? Because listening to Britney Spears, even in the UK, you look at Britney Spears and you just presume that there's this huge, brand Britney that's put together by these huge labels that make these Disney kids superstars, and that's what happens in America. But like in Australia and the UK, like it? I think it's very different. And did you feel that there was people that made you think, oh, do you know, I could do this from here?
I think I looked to Missy Higgins a lot and I was like I think I can do this because she was like very much like she would like play piano and sing and she would perform in that stripped back setting like semi regularly. And I was a classically trained pianist before I started singing, so that was like very in my wheelhouse and I like connected to that style of music so much when I was younger as well. And so I think that was kind of like the vision that I had for myself. And yeah, I think that I kind of looked to Missy Higgins' career and um, envisioned something similar for myself.
So you was a super creative kid.
Yeah, I guess I was. I don't think I realized at the time like that it wasn't normal to have like the obsession with pop music and the music industry in general that I had. Like right from when I was like 5 or 6, I would like get up and watch Rage, which is our like music video show, and I would like record all the videos onto a VHS so that I could like watch it all through the week. And my older brother's friends would like quiz me on like the charts that week and I knew like the whole top 40 and I knew like what had moved from where and stuff. It was like, yeah, now looking back I was like, whoa, I was like super obsessed and it makes sense now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Was you a confident kid?
I think in some ways I was like once I was like performing in front of people, I always felt confident. And I think because I was quite a late bloomer. Like I didn't really hit puberty until I was in my last year of school. So I was like a boy soprano in year 11. And I think when everyone else like started to like kind of hit puberty and I was still like this like short, like kind of weird kid, I started to feel a bit like less confident. And then I think also like when I started to come to terms with my sexuality, and I was just like homophobia was the norm for me. So there was a lot that I started to learn to like try and mask about myself. And I think that at that point I started to like lose a bit of confidence. And I think like getting to a place where I like feel comfortable with that has been quite a journey. And I think it's still ongoing as well. I think I'll always like have further to go with it. Yeah.
You mentioned that you always felt comfortable and confident on stage, even at a young age. Um, and I think that's a really, crazy thing for people to say. I've heard that from many guests on this podcast. And the thought that you've gone on stage and played to thousands of people over the duration of your career, and for most people that's a terrifying experience, and not a normal thing that most people do, is to sort of walk out and literally lay yourself bare in front of an audience to theoretically be embraced, connected with, judged, all manner of things. Where do you think that confidence to perform and to act, enact with an audience, where do you think that come from?
I think I think that like deep down, right from when I was young, I knew that it was like the thing that I was good at. Like I kind of felt like it was my calling. And then especially like as I've gotten older and after I came out as gay, I felt like just so much more comfortable and confident. And I think there's something about being on stage where you can like people almost expect you to be um more than a regular person or something. And so it's almost like you can do like whatever you want. Like no one's going to think you're like weird or anything. It's like if you can like genuinely connect to the performance that you're giving and just like let like surrender to it in a way. um yeah, I think there's like a lot of freedom in that, and it's like a setting where it is okay to be like weird or like
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really know how to describe it, but it to me, I feel like on stage I can be like my full self, like more so than anywhere else.
Yeah. Safe space, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the first record you remember buying, Tim.
So that was the Dr. Jones single by Aqua.
Love it.
And yeah, yeah. I remember when Barbie Girl came out, and I like saw the music video a lot, and it was like everyone was talking about it at school. I think I must have been like 5 or 6, and then and I like I did kind of like it, but like I wasn't like obsessed with it or anything. But then when Dr. Jones came out, I was like, it was like my favorite thing I'd ever heard, and I like saved up my like pocket money that I get for unloading the dishwasher, and then like went in and bought this single, and then yeah, I just like listened to it nonstop. And I think that that was when I started saying that when I was older I wanted to be in a band like Aqua. um, and yeah, I think my siblings loved watching Rage and like video hits and stuff as well, and so I was just, yeah, I got super obsessed, and that was kind of that song was the thing that started it all.
You said when you got at home, you just played it and played it and played it, and you know, you've been very open about your obsession with music. Are you still like that now? If you hear a song, something new, and it just connects, do you put it on and then put it on and then put it on and then put it on?
Yeah, I do.
But also with that, because I'm exactly the same. If I hear something that just gets me, I I can't sleep until I've just absolutely exhausted it. But what I don't have to worry about, which is something I'm always interested in asking creatives, is as somebody that makes music and has seen behind the curtain of making music and sees how the magic happens, when you hear a perfect pop record, are you listening to it as the artist wants you to listen to it, as just this finished, polished, perfect piece of pop music? Or are you, as the creative, deconstructing it and going, shit, how did I do that? Like, where'd that be? What have they used for that? Like, can you get it on face value, or do you have to look behind the curtain?
I think a little bit of both. But I feel like it isn't so much of like a deconstructing as it is like admiring the work and like
Yeah,
being like, whoa, for them to achieve this, like they like, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's just like, wow, how did they come up with this?
yeah,
And like thinking about the fact that they were like in a room or somewhere and this just like came to them or whatever. But it never hinders my like enjoyment of a song or anything,
yeah.
which I'm grateful for.
Let's go clubbing. Tell me the song that soundtrack your year's clubbing, please, Tim.
So I don't really like this song a whole lot. It's like been used in a car commercial a lot, like over the last decade or something. But the song that I have the most vivid clubbing memories to is a song called "Don't Hold Back" by the Potbellies. Um, and yeah, the most vivid memories I have are from when I had a fake ID, going clubbing underage, and Sam and I would go to this gay club in Brisbane, The Beat, and at that point, like nobody knew that either of us. Well, I'm sure people suspected that we were gay, but like we hadn't told anyone, and it was all like very secret. But we could go to this club and no one there knew who we were, but like everyone there was gay. And so we could like make out there and stuff. And I remember I remember like making out with Sam there for the first time in public. And just like, I remember it felt like just like the wildest, most reckless thing I'd ever done. But it was like really like a moment from like a coming of age movie or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and yeah, this Potbelly song just like blaring.
um, when I asked you about confidence, you know, I want to ask you another question related to that. And you've, you've had an incredible career to date, and in a incredibly difficult industry. So, confidence aside, tell me about how driven you are.
I'd say I'm very driven. I think all four of us in the band are so driven. We've been doing it for like 11 years now. We put out our first single in 2011. And yeah, I think before we had any reason to even think that we could succeed, I think the four of us have just had this belief that it's going to happen. And we we really have like all put everything into it. Like all of us worked full time to fund like so much of our touring and recording our records and that sort of thing. And now we all do the band full time, which is like that was always the goal from the start. I remember someone asking me in an interview, like when we just put out a single, like what's my idea of success or making it. And I remember saying that it was for all of us to be able to like live off the band, like that was the dream.
Yeah,
And yeah, and now we're here and doing it, which is just incredible. But like now we have bigger dreams that again we're not going to stop working towards until it happens.
wonderful. I'm going to take you home. Tell me a favourite song from an artist from your hometown, please.
So this one is a hard one as well because I think there's so much good music out of Brisbane. But I think my favorite song out of Brisbane is by Mallrat, the song Charlie.
Yeah,
And it's just, yeah, it's just one of those songs that is just so pure and beautiful. And the storytelling in the lyrics is just like, it's just so poetic and beautiful and like makes you want to cry, but it's also like such an uplifting song. And yeah, I think I'm Morat's biggest fan. Um, and yeah, that song in particular is just like something so special.
I'm always intrigued to know about the sort of the local scene. Tell me a little bit. I want to take you back a little bit and tell me a little about the early days of the band and the scene that was happening in Brisbane. What else was happening? Was it exciting? Were bands happy to kind of work together and support each other, or was there that kind of local band sort of competitiveness where everybody's trying to kind of get a little bit further up the ladder than the other one? You know, what was going on?
I think in my experience, it's always been pretty supportive. I think around the time when we released our first single, Evie, there was another Brisbane band, the Jungle Giants, who had just put out their debut single. And I'd never met any of them before, but I like loved the song and really admired what they were doing. And it's been really cool to kind of like come up alongside each other. There have been so many bands that have like started and then ended, like all within this like 11 years of us like kind of just like keeping on working at it. And we've become really good friends with them over the years, and it's really cool to reflect on that together. And we've like performed together and stuff now. But yeah, also around the time when we were putting out our first album, I met Joe Aegis and Harriet Pilbeam from the band Hatchie, and they were really instrumental in a lot of like the music videos, and I think giving us the confidence to keep pushing forward with our vision when it kind of we had a couple of years between our EPs and putting out the album, and it felt like stuff wasn't really happening, and I think it could have been easy to lose faith. But I think having those friends who were like really encouraging and helped us execute the vision was like seriously like a game changer for us.
Yeah. It's your last track, Tim, and I'm going to ask you to be a tastemaker here and tell my listeners a song that you think many may not know that you would like them to hear.
So that would be Phoebe Go, We Don't Talk.
How good is this
Um,
song?
oh, so good. It's yeah, it's one of those songs that I like listen to on repeat,
Yeah.
like it so much. I got my Spotify Wrapped today and it was in there. But yeah, it came out when we were traveling earlier this year, and I just have like my vivid memory with this song is listening to it on repeat for like a whole day in New York, like at our accommodation, like before I like left home, and then just like playing it straight out of my phone as Sam and I like went for this massive walk and just on repeat. And yeah, Phoebe's voice is like just so unique and warm and beautiful. And um, yeah, I just think the production on the track is so beautiful as well. It's like timeless, and it's something you can listen to like on repeat and it just doesn't get old.
Yeah. We make it easy for people to listen to this and all the other tracks that we've spoken about today, Tim. We put together a Spotify playlist of all your song picks, and obviously we put some of your tunes on there as well. Um, like the rest of the world, Australia is a very open place now, and it seems that the pandemic is a fading memory, and gigs are happening, tours are happening, people are back in studios making music. What can we expect from Cub Sport next year?
A lot more new music. I can't like specifically say what's coming, but there's something exciting coming and it's not too far off. And yeah, we'll be playing a bunch of shows. We just announced a UK tour for April, May next
Wonderful.
year.
Do you know where you're playing in
And
London?
yeah, we're playing at Lafayette.
Oh, wonderful venue.
Yeah, I'm so excited to play there.
Love it, love it. And if people want to keep up to speed, Tim, with everything that the band's doing, where's the best place to stay up to speed?
We've got a mailing list. But yeah, all the socials. I'm like most active probably on like Instagram and Twitter, but I try and like keep all of them pretty up to date. So yeah, any of them really.
Wonderful. Well, if it's cool with you when this comes out, we'll tag you in it all so people can go and find you if they haven't done already.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Wonderful. Tim, it's been a real pleasure having you as a guest today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
No problem. I'm going to press stop. Don't go anywhere.
Sure.